Remember when wearing Nikes made you feel like a legend? These days, NBA superstars are slipping out of those swooshes, quietly but deliberately. What's really going on behind the scenes? Is Nike losing its grip on the game it helped define? Back in the day, a Nike deal was the holy grail. It wasn't just about sneakers, it was about status. Signing with Nike meant you'd made it. Jordan built the empire. Kobe elevated it. LeBron? He was the crown jewel. But now something's shifting. You probably didn't notice it at first. A logo blurred here, a taped-over swoosh there, a player rocking customs with no visible branding. Quiet, subtle acts, almost like a rebellion. And then came the headlines. Kyrie Irving dropped, Zion's shoes flopping. Ja Morant caught in controversy, but somehow still backed. Meanwhile, new faces, Anthony Edwards, Scoot Henderson, Jaylen Brown, are choosing to walk away from Nike. Why? Let's rewind a bit to the golden age. In the 90s and 2000s, Nike was untouchable. Jordan's airline became the blueprint. Kids didn't just want to be like Mike, they wanted to wear like Mike. Kobe's line introduced performance-driven tech with a sleek edge. And LeBron? His shoes were tanks, made for power, dominance, royalty. Nike didn't follow the game. It was the game. But then the court changed. Social media exploded. Players didn't need a brand to reach fans. They had Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. They started building personal empires. They didn't just want a shoe. They wanted a story, a brand, a legacy of their own. Fans weren't just buying sneakers anymore. They were buying into narratives, personalities, and ideologies. And that's where Nike started falling behind. Take Kyrie Irving. At one point, his shoes were the second best-selling behind LeBron. You saw them everywhere. From high school gyms to NBA hardwood, players loved the grip. Kids loved the design. Sneakerheads lined up for each drop. But then, controversy struck. Kyrie's social media posts ignited backlash. Nike, under pressure, cut ties in 2022. You'd think that'd be the end of the Kyrie sneaker story, but it wasn't. His kicks, still worn across the league, still dominating rec courts, players just taped over the swoosh or blurred the logo. The message was clear. Nike had the name, but Kyrie had the connection. And connection, that's everything now. Let's talk Ja Morant, Generation Z's first Nike signature athlete. Explosive, fearless, electric. Nike handed him the torch with the J1, but the moment he caught fire, he fumbled. Twice suspended for flashing guns on Instagram Live. A PR nightmare. But Nike didn't flinch. They doubled down, dropping the Ja 2, then announcing the Ja 3 Max volume. Some fans were confused. Was Nike ignoring behavior to protect a contract? Others saw it differently. A brand desperate to keep someone relevant in a changing league. In a world where loyalty is fickle and public opinion shifts fast, Nike looked oddly stubborn, almost outdated in its response. Meanwhile, Zion Williamson's journey was unfolding like a tragic arc. Hyped as the next LeBron, signed by Nike before his NBA debut. But in college, disaster struck. His Nike shoe exploded mid-game. He went down hard. Nike's stock? It plummeted over $1 billion in a single day. Nike still backed him, released the Zion 1, 2, and 3. But Zion's injuries and weight issues kept piling up. His line never connected. No buzz, no love, no energy. It felt forced, like Nike was chasing relevance instead of creating it. They were no longer leading the conversation, just reacting to it. And then there's the Kobe vacuum. After his tragic passing in 2020, Kobe's line took on mythic status. Players across the league were rocking Kobe's, over 100 of them during the 2020-21 season. Functional, sleek, respected, but Kobe's contract with Nike expired. His estate almost walked away entirely. Behind closed doors, there were whispers. Kobe had plans, big plans, a player-first brand, a vision beyond Nike. Although they eventually re-signed with the swoosh, the momentum was lost. The bridge between eras? Gone. And Nike never truly recovered that energy. That's when the new generation stepped in and started making different moves. Anthony Edwards didn't wait for Nike. He went with Adidas, launched the AE1, and it popped. Bright colors, bold design, a statement. Scoot Henderson linked up with Puma. Quiet brand, loud ambition. The Scoot Zero is already turning heads. Kawhi Leonard, one of the most stoic guys in the game, found a perfect fit with New Balance. It's not flashy, it's him. Jaylen Brown, he turned down millions, walked away, and built his own company, 741 Performance. Because for him, control matters more than a check. These aren't just endorsements, they're partnerships, collaborations. Players want brands that reflect who they are, not just what they do on the court. And it's not just about sneakers anymore, it's about storytelling. Nike's biggest strength used to be myth-making, turning athletes into icons. But now athletes are flipping the script. They're the authors, the creators, the brand. And in this new game, Nike's still playing by the old rules. And Nike, it's feeling the pressure, hard. In fiscal quarter 2 of 2025, Nike reported an 8% drop in revenue. Even worse, digital sales fell a brutal 21%. That's not just a dip, and that's a red flag. And in a move that raised eyebrows across the industry, Nike re-entered Amazon after 6 years of staying exclusive. Why? To chase convenience, to chase sales, to chase relevance. And when Nike starts chasing, not leading, that's when people start asking questions. Internally, big changes were brewing too. New CEO Elliott Hill took over, promising a renewed focus on innovation and performance. But can innovation fix something deeper? A loss of cultural edge? Because while Nike was reorganizing, its rivals were rising. Adidas clawed back market share, jumping from 8.9% to over 10%. Nike dropped from 15.2% in 2023 to 14.1% in 2024. Puma and New Balance, slowly, smartly, they're locking down players who actually fit their brand story. Not just athletes, but personalities. And that's the key. This new era of basketball isn't just about points per game. It's about platform, identity, and connection. A player like Jaylen Brown isn't chasing sneaker deals. He's building something that outlives the game. A name, a message, a movement. Even role players now have influence. You don't need to be a superstar to build a following. You just need authenticity. You need vision. Nike, for years, relied on mythology, the Jordan flight, the Kobe killer instinct, the LeBron legacy. But mythology has a shelf life, especially when a generation grows up wanting to write their own stories. And what about today's young hoopers? They're growing up differently. They're scrolling TikTok more than watching ESPN. They care less about what Jordan wore in '96 and more about who speaks their language now. They want a brand that's nimble, that listens, that evolves. Nike, for all its history, sometimes feels like a museum. Powerful, yes, but distant, untouchable. And in a time when fans want access, vulnerability, and relatability, that distance can feel like a wall. Look at the biggest sneaker moments recently. The AE1 rollout exploded online. Scoot's collab with Puma sold out fast. Meanwhile, Nike drops another retro Jordan or another generic team colorway, and the response? Lukewarm, predictable. There's still hype, sure. There's always hype around the swoosh. But the magic? It's not the same. And maybe that's okay, because the sneaker game isn't dying. It's just evolving. Players aren't waiting to be anointed by Nike. They're creating their own lanes. They're using their platform to build something that goes way beyond basketball. This shift isn't about hate for Nike. It's about players realizing they have more leverage than ever before. They're not just signing contracts now, they're negotiating creative freedom, equity, voice. That's why someone like Fred VanVleet, undrafted, undersized, and overlooked, can sign with a brand like Li-Ning and still command respect. Because it's not about the logo on your shoe, it's about what that shoe represents. Brands like Puma and New Balance aren't just writing checks. They're letting players co-author their story. That kind of control, it's priceless. And while Nike still has the resources, the factories, the legacy, it's losing something much harder to buy: cultural trust. That trust isn't rebuilt with slogans. It's rebuilt by action, by listening, by empowering, by giving players a real seat at the table, not just a contract and a color palette. Nike will always be a giant. But in today's NBA, even giants have to move quickly. Players want flexibility. They want to experiment. They want collabs with designers, capsule collections with meaning, and drops with purpose. Colorways that represent hometowns, heritage, moments, and movements. This isn't about performance alone. It's about personality, purpose, and presence. And that's where Nike has to evolve. Fast. Because when superstars start walking away in silence, it's never just about the shoes. It's about the story the shoes fail to tell. Wild how the sneaker game flipped, huh? It's not just about cushioning and traction anymore. It's about purpose, ownership, and real connection. If you made it this far, you're clearly part of the culture. So drop a like, hit that sub, and tell us, are you still rocking with Nike? Or are you checking out the new wave?